Cool. Well, it's great to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting into your life and your work. And to begin that journey, I want to know 4 years ago, we were all wrapping our head around this global pandemic. How did you make it through that pandemic and how did it change you?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go right there.
Hit the ground running.
Um, that was an interesting time because I had other people living with me, and so it's myself, my sister, and another girlfriend, and then someone who was just renting from me, right? So when it happened, I'm a health person, so I was like, just make sure your immune system is up and everything is fine. Just make sure I know the herbs, keep it. And my sister and I, we were fine. But the two others, they were like, oh no, like so we made a compromise. I shut the house down for, I forgot what the time period was. Maybe it was a month or 6 weeks in order to keep them feeling, heard. And then after the 6 weeks, they were like, okay, I said, no. I said, because the people coming in were, my friends and stuff, and I didn't go for the isolation. And I just knew that if people kept their immune system up, if people felt uncomfortable, I kept them in a certain part of the house. So it was, and then it was really, that was a challenging time because you really got to see what different people's philosophies were around it. Because I'm in the health and wellness, right? So so it comes to me a little differently, and and then it was all about the jab too, and I saw that um, in households where it really split up households, where someone wanted to get the jab, someone else didn't, and how that caused friction in families. And and I remember like, wow, this is a sensitive subject here. And so I just got to a place where I just respected what anyone wanted to do without, regardless of how I felt or what I thought they should be doing compared to what they were doing. It's like, it's not worth breaking the relationship.
Yeah.
So I really got a chance to see how, I mean, like, who would have thought? Like something like that I saw some breakdowns in some families.
Yeah.
Me personally, yeah, because for example, my husband and I don't live together. I mean, I have my home, he has his home. He got the job, I didn't. And, we had to be okay with that. I had to be okay with him getting the job, and then he had to be okay with me not. And we were, well, I'm trying to think. I can't remember because we were newlyweds. So I can't remember. I think we were just dating at that time
Yeah.
because we've only been married 2.5. So we were dating. So, new relationship and everything, maybe because we got to know each other during the pandemic. So we had a challenge early on.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day. And one of the kids says, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you answer that
Ah,
child?
I would say I help women feel great about getting older.
What did you want to be in the third grade?
Ooh, what did I want to be in the third grade? Well, the only thing I remember ever wanting to be really was a flight attendant
Okay,
because I love to travel.
sure.
And I thought, wow,
Yeah,
back then, because we're talking 60 some years ago, that was a career to have.
yeah.
So I think that's the only one I really, oh no. And the other one, I wanted to be a movie star.
There you go. Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about where you were born and raised and what the seeds that were planted into you to be, in health and wellness and to help others. How did all that become
Mm.
you?
That really started with my grandmother. I was raised by my grandmother, and we lived in a city. We lived on an island, actually, an island in the United States, not a tropical island.
Yeah.
And my grandmother was a sharecropper. She grew up, I mean, she raised her family as a sharecropper. And she, at one point, she was alone, just her and her children. Her husband was no longer there. And she used to say how when she used to take the cotton to get it weighed, how she was always cheated out of the money. They never gave her what she really, what it was really worth. So she came to the North, which was New Jersey, for a better life. And for her, a better life was a domestic. And but one of the things she did for probably what most people did, just because that's what they did, they grew a lot of their own food. So she had a garden, and she would make me go. Now I could care less about a garden.
Yeah.
So she was growing, and she grew watermelon and string beans and squash, and I can't remember. And the worst thing I wanted to be is out there watering the garden. And, as a teenager, I felt like it was so corny. I didn't want my friends to see me that I was watering the garden. I was like, ah. And we'd be, and then when in the beginning of the year, we have to hoe out the land. Oh, it was the worst for me ever.
Yeah.
But then I did want to be a doctor as I got older. By high school, now remembering, because I forgot I wanted to be a doctor, but I found out I wasn't that great in science. So I was like, maybe not.
Yeah.
And I realized it's probably the way it was taught. And I moved. So I'm trying to figure out what happened. I moved to California from New Jersey. And that's when I met a lot of people into lifestyle changes. I met vegetarians. I met people who were also politicized. And I'm coming from a little town, like a one-horse town. There were like 10,000 people that lived there, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this was like the big city. San Francisco was the big city to me. And so I remember, so met a lot of people around the nutrition piece, right? Some being dogmatic, some people not. So that is kind of where my first kind of started. And I'm trying to figure out, and then from there, I went to Europe, to Paris. I was there supposed to be there for 3 months and stayed 6 years. And not so much herbal stuff there. I think I can't remember so much there. It's my return. Well, it's boy, you're making me go
Here
back.
we go. We're getting there.
Yeah, and then I went to Guadeloupe from Paris because Guadeloupe was a colony of France. So I met a lot of Guadeloupeans, had befriended a lot of Guadeloupeans. Now we're in the Caribbean. And they were Rastafari. So Rastafari meant that they lived off the land. They took herbs. They weren't into medications. And that was I lived up in the mountains. So that was kind of my first, maybe really, really deep introduction to a lifestyle like that, like really living off the land. Like remember I'm 25. And I remember, so they lived in a cabin, right? And I was like, okay, like where, okay, I don't remember about the bathroom. That's just a blank at this point. But I was like, where is the shower? Like, where? And like, I'm looking, like, I don't see anything. Like, even another house would be okay. No. So I said, where's the shower? And he says, oh, I'll build you one tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, so you don't have a shower and you're going to build one tomorrow. I wasn't feeling really hopeful, right?
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Feeling really hopeful. And I'm watching him. I was like, oh gosh, where did I land? Where am I at? Right? So we're talking about the 80s. So we're in the 80s. And I'm like, I think I went a little too far on this one. This is what I'm thinking to myself, because I'm an adventurous. I love to travel. I love remote places. I'm discovering. And I thought maybe I went a little too far on this one. But I want to tell you, by the end of the day, I had the best shower ever.
Wow.
I mean, this man, he took palm leaves and braided them. And he created 3 walls with braided palm leaves.
Wow.
And he had him sitting up on a cement block. And the door was facing, and then like had a little cloth where I could close the door. And then I just don't remember about the water though, but probably the water was probably cold, but I'm in 85-degree weather. We're
Yeah.
outside. So
Yeah.
who needs hot water?
Yeah.
I was transformed. I was transformed. So that was kind of the nature part of it, right? And learning how to survive in, after that I went to Jamaica. I got all into Rastafari, and that's when I started getting into the herbs. Because again, Rastafari, all about the herbs and living off the land, but more than living off the land, healing with the land. So that's when I discovered Jamaican herbs like Cerasee, like bitter for your liver, anything going on with that. That's the nasty. I just always love it when I don't have to take it. And then from there, I met my mentor when I came back from Guadeloupe, and I was going back and forth to Jamaica once a year with the Rastafari community. I met a master herbalist, and he became my mentor for 5 years, where it was considered a herbal institute of elders without walls. And he was a part of a lineage of elders, all men, that were healers and herbalists who would take on people like myself who just was drawn to it. And they used their own bodies as a laboratory. So I had book knowledge, right? Because I went to the university, I studied about dietetics, and I was reading out the book, and I said, da 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 da. He goes, okay. He would say, all right, just try it. He said, like, try it for 3 days or try it for 30 days. And every time he used to say, he was always correct. And I guess he would say, well, one of these days, you're just going to just trust me. Eventually I did. So that's when and from there, with the 5 years studying with him and his lineage, I began talking about wellness, and then I began to specialize in cleansing and detoxifying, because I had discovered that a lot of what people were having in terms of symptoms, that if they just knew how to cleanse their bodies, that they would actually get rid of those symptoms.
Yeah.
So, and people are looking for immediate results. So that was like, I could get immediate results with people, although you still need to change your habits, right? Not just, So that is how I got into this as a medicine woman. And as the title, medicine woman, African medicine woman, came as, are you familiar with the Native American process of, it's gone.
Oh, it's
It
okay.
just
You're okay.
It just went out the way. It's where you go to a remote place, just you yourself, and you just sit and be
Yeah.
in meditation. And there's a certain name, and it just went out of my head.
Sure.
So I would do this when I would go to Jamaica, because when I would go to Jamaica, I would go into the mountains, into the Rastafari community with my tent, and then I would be there for 7 days and 7 nights, 7 nights and 8 days, and I would sit in that prayer. It's like right on the tip of my tongue. It'll come, and I would wait for my message and my direction for my life for the next year. And so, in one of those sittings, is when my title came to me as an African medicine woman. So that's how I was ordained with that. And then with the herbalist, studying with him and traveling to Jamaica, then traveling to Africa and learning the herbs in Africa. So it was Africa, the Caribbean, Native American, and then herbs. So that's kind of how I got started. And then when I moved out to California, I opened up I had a private practice in Philadelphia, But then when I moved to California, after being in Africa and coming back and resettling, I opened up a private practice then, and I specialize in detoxing and primarily working with professional women.
So
But
is it?
I wouldn't turn anyone down. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So is it called a Vision Quest?
Yes.
Good.
That's what it's
We got
called.
it.
Like,
We got it. I remember
yes.
I knew it was a movie title. I was trying to find out. So yeah. So I'm curious. You've been doing this for a long time. It's not like you just have a job. You're actively helping people get to a much better place in their lives that will last their lifetime. What is the
Yes.
motivation for you every day to do this job and to also maintain your health and well-being?
Wow. So the piece that helps me maintain my health and well-being is a few things. One, I just like feeling good in my body. I just love feeling good. And I consider my life as a gift. And that means gifts are meant to be enjoyed. And for me, as long as I have breath, then I'm here to enjoy this gift called life. And I have come to understand that our bodies can serve us well and much longer than we give our bodies credit for. And so early on, when I was traveling and meeting, so what really inspired me to even get on this journey too is when I was in my early 20s and I was traveling throughout Europe, I was meeting these fabulous women. They were in their 50s and they were traveling by themselves. They were gorgeous. They were, some of them were very ethnic looking and they were traveling all over the world. They had jobs that they liked. They were fit. I was like, I'm in my 20s, you in your 50s, you old. So I was like, I saw a number of them. So I was like, wow. So that was the first thing that had me change. Like, you don't have to be like old and decrepit like at 50. Like you can really, like, not only that, you can really be doing some stuff with your life, right? Like I get I'm doing this at 20, but you're doing this at 50. Meeting me, and so I was fascinated. And I'm a scientist by nature. So I asked all these questions and I put my theory together. In my 20s, I said, okay, based on what I understand from talking to these women, from my young life of living and traveling, and reading, that there's certain things that I can do that can ensure, with the grace of the Most High, that I have a healthy, vibrant life for a long time.
Yeah.
And I started that experiment. So this is my life is the result of a 40-year experiment,
Yeah.
45-year experiment. And then as I'm aging, because I'm 65 years young now, so I started off in my 20s and now I'm 65. And I, you know, I've experienced, it depends on how far we want to go. I've experienced that change of life and what that means for women, right? And I'm also experiencing the best time in my life
Yeah.
because I get to, and this is the piece, and I see so many women, you ask me, I see so many women suffering like unnecessarily. And it starts with the mindset where they think that this is the lot of life. Like, I've got pain, I've got this disease, I've got this thing going on. This is just aging. I'm hearing women in their 30s saying, I got this issue because I'm aging. And their 30s and then 40s and then just not, and then doing so many things to their bodies, trying to keep the youth, because we live in a society that does not respect or honor or have a sacred place of where they put elders in terms of respect and how we're engaged. We're to be put away. There's not a lot of stories told about ourselves in movies. We're either someone's mother or someone's grandmother, but the story is never about us. We don't have lives that are interesting. And now we're living in a population where the baby boomers are a majority. So what do you mean we're not interested? We got to look at only stories of the 30 something and 40 something. Hey. So it's like all of those things that inspire me. And then when I just watch women transform before my eyes, and they get it, like I'm in a program with women now, and they're halfway there, 90 days, they're in their 6 weeks. And I said, tell me your big win. And when I hear these women share what their wins are, it just brings tears to my eyes because I know you're getting your life back.
Yeah.
So that's what inspires me.
So at the end of the day, is the one that's behind this movement. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Wow. Do I think I am? Well, one of the things I know I am I don't know what the word would say. I am, I don't know. What's the word? I know that I have been sent here by the divine, the sacred, whatever you want to call the Most High. And I have been gifted with certain talents and characteristics that I was born with. And in this life, I have developed. So I know that I have a very, very personal relationship with that divine in my life. And so there's an ordination, or I'm ordained in a way by the Most High. So that I'm clear about. Who else I am is that I'm a free woman, and I'm a woman that has her voice. I am an adventurer. I am a priestess. And I'm a bird because I like to fly.
Yeah, love it. I love it.
So those are things that I know that I am.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to learn more about you, reach out, any of the good business, hire you, what's the best way to do that?
The best way to do that, well, one, you can befriend me on Facebook on my name, Asara Tsehai. And then I also will give you, I like to give something. So I've written a book called How to Keep Them Guessing Your Age. And I share with people the 8 main practices that I have that help me stay fit, fine, and fabulous at 65. And the movement, is I'm working with women who aspire, usually women 50 plus, who aspire to be healthy, vibrant, and live a zestful life,
I love it.
even beyond 100 plus years young, and they want to have fun doing it. And that's what I would tell probably a teenager.
Yeah, absolutely. Asara, you shine. You embody exactly what you've talked about. Thank you so much for your good story, for your energy, and best of luck. Keep doing the great work out there.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.